Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. What's up, y'all? What's up? We're going to be on a section of Course in Miracles that's really, really deep, and it's called self-concept versus self. So you got yourself in one corner and your self-concept in the other corner. If you got the book, it's on page 656, and I'm going to go through it and do it in as plain a language as I can, look for the message that we have, and then we're going to go for it. And just know that you don't have to believe it, 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 you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. Some of it's going to be hard to believe, it's going to be different from what we've been taught, it might be different from what we've heard, but I think that that's the whole meaning of new. If I'm not, somehow or another, I got a suspicion that the meaning of new is something that's different. So hopefully we will understand that I'm going to say something different. So that means it might not be what we've already heard. Is everybody okay on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to believe it. I'm not trying to convert anybody. It's hard enough for me to convert me. So I'm hardly interested in trying to convert somebody else. It starts off by saying the learning of the world is built upon a concept of the self adjusted to the world's reality. So the world is trying to teach us a concept of ourselves that is adjusted to what the world believes is true. And it says, now this concept of yourself fits the world well. For this is an image that suits the world of shadows and illusions, because here your concept of yourself walks at home. So the Course is saying that it's our concept of ourselves that's sitting up here today more so than who we really are. That it's our concept of ourselves that walks the world. So basically what it's saying to us is that what's walking around and what people are identifying as themselves is just really the image of themselves that they've made up. Can we agree?
Yeah.
That all of us pretty much have an image of ourselves, and then we say that's us. And if I ask you if you were the same person that you were 10 years ago, most of you would say, no, I'm different, right? You're going to be saying the same thing about this image of yourself sitting here today 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So don't believe that this image sitting here today is your real self.
Right.
Because 10 years ago you thought that was your real self.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so it says that here this image of ourselves walks at home where what it sees is one with it. So basically the Course is telling us that the building of a concept of the self is what the learning of the world is for. That the world is trying to teach us a self-concept. That's the world's purpose. Everything in the world is trying to teach us what we are. Everybody's telling us who we are. From the time we were born, we were told who we are. All right, and the Course says that now, so this is the purpose of the world. It's going to repeat it again. When you study the Course in Miracles, you never have to go back and then try to figure out what it's talking about, because I guarantee you it's going to say it about 9,000 more times as you read forward. So it's really just a trick of your ego to say, I'm going to read and study this over and over again, this particular sentence, because it's always saying, if you don't get it this way, I'm going to give it to you that way, and if you don't get it this way, I'm going to give it to you another way. So it's going to restate it by saying, this is the world's purpose. The world treats us like you came here without a self, and then you're going to make a self up as you go along. You came here without an identity, and as you grow up, you are going to make one up. And then it says, and by the time you reach so-called maturity or adulthood, you have perfected your concept of yourself. You have perfected your patterns. You have perfected your personality. You have perfected who it is you think you are. And it says, and what this concept does is that it meets the world on equal terms. In other words, when you get to the point that you have totally bought into all the world's values and demands, and you're trying to act out all the world's values and demands, you are now at one with the world, and you're at one with its demands. Like if it says you're not anything unless you drive a Lexus, then when you get to the point that you believe you're not valuable unless you drive a Lexus, you're at one with the world's demands. You understand what I'm saying? By the time we start judging ourselves according to the values that the world gives us, then at that point you are now mature in the world. So at the time that you can make all the erroneous interpretations of yourself that the world teaches on your own without any help, you are now a member of society.
Congratulations.
All right. When you tell people that you are what you were told you are, without any help from anybody else, you are now a member of society. Got it? When you actually talk like you are what you were taught you are. And so the Course says that that's you being one with the world's demands. So that first paragraph was telling us basically that we have made up an image of ourselves that we've learned from the world, and we get to the point that we look at ourselves that way, like we're separate, like we're bodies, like we're temporary, like we're victims, like things happen to us that we have nothing to do with, like the way you look ultimately determines who you are. When you value whatever the world says is important more than your own heart, you are now a member of society, and you've now made yourself a beautiful, deadly self-concept. Okay, how can I tell that I'm acting according to my self-concept rather than myself? How can I tell when I'm doing it according to my ego, which is another term for self-concept, other than myself, is when I'm miserable, unhappy, unfulfilled, and don't feel like life is really worthwhile and getting me off and I'm really enjoying myself. If you basically sad, you bought the whole concept of yourself and not yourself, because there's no way you can truly be yourself and not be fulfilled. There's no way you could really be expressing your divine nature and be unhappy. So how do you know if you're acting according to what you've been told rather than what you are? How do you feel today? How do you feel right now? If you're all depressed about something, worried about something, not giving yourself joy about something, then you can rest assured you're acting out of your ego, you're acting out of what you've been taught and not who you really are. If we're sitting up here thinking that there's separate people sitting up here and we're not connected and we're not one and we're not all divine, you're acting according to the concept that you learned. That's how you know. So it says the concept of yourself, guess what? It's made by you. So you're the one that's making the idea of you. And it says now your concept of yourself doesn't bear any likeness to yourself at all. Your concept of yourself is not anything like your real self. Your real self is eternal and immortal and all-powerful and connected to source. Your concept of yourself is hardly that way, usually. So it basically says your concept of yourself is an idol. It's my idol. My idea of who I am as Earl is my idol. I will protect this idol of who I think I am beyond anything. And it says that idol, that concept that we have of ourselves, that we made it to take the place of our reality as a child of God. So rather than see ourselves as the infinite intelligence that we are, the infinite spirit that we are, I see myself as however I have learned to see myself since I've been born. I'm acting out my story of who I am. And so the Course says the concept of the self the world would teach is not what it appears to be. So when you have a concept of yourself that's coming from the world, the Course says the concept of yourself that we make up from the world has two purposes. The concept of ourselves that we make up has two purposes, but we only recognize one of the purposes. But there are two purposes in me making up my image of myself, my concept of myself. And the Course says the first concept that you come up with, your concept of yourself, you have two purposes for making up how you see yourself. And it says the first purpose represents or presents the face of innocence. Now everyone makes up the face of innocence. The face of innocence is the aspect of yourself that you see that's always acted on. I'm innocent, I'm cool, and everybody's messing with me. Things are acting on me. And the Course says that it's this face that pretty much everybody makes up. He says that smiles and charms, and this aspect of ourselves that we make up even seems to love. It can do a good fake love too. It can really look like it really knows how to love. So it smiles, it charms, and it pretends to love. I smile, I charm, and I pretend to love. All of us make that. The Three Stooges of unreality. Smiling, charming, loving. Even though I don't know anything about what real love is, and I'm smiling when I should be crying because of what's going on within me, and I'm trying to get what I want through being charming, being nice, right? And then it says, this part of us that sees itself as innocent, this ego that we make up that tells us we're really innocent and charming and innocent and loving, it says it searches for companions. I just stopped there for just a second. This part of us searches for companions, and not only does it search for companions, the Course in Miracles says that this part of us that searches for companions It also is a part of us that looks at times with pity. Oh, it's just horrible what's going on in Syria. And then it sometimes looks on this suffering and sometimes offers solace. So this image of myself is really a nice guy. It sometimes feels bad about the suffering that goes on in the world, and sometimes I even offer solace. And then it says, basically, everybody makes up a concept of themselves that says, I believe that I'm good and in a very evil world. I'm the good person in this world that anything could happen that could be bad. I'm nice, but everybody else, I don't know how they're going to be, but I'm nice. I'm good. So I bet you most of you have an image of yourself. If you be honest, you think you're good people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not only that, but you look like you're a good person in a world that you could be hit and run on Colfax if you don't watch it. Right? Somebody could rob you while you watch. You're just a good person in a challenging, bad world. So it looks like that's not a really original concept that we're coming up with. I think all of us pretty much got that one made up. If more people were like me, the world would be a better place. Because I'm nice. I wouldn't hurt anybody except in self-defense. That's the only time I kill you, is if you mess with me. That's right, you know. Like I've said many times, the true student has what? His mace and his affirmation and his 45. Okay? Really nice until you mess with me. Okay? And so this aspect that thinks is really good in the evil world, the Course says this aspect of yourself can grow angry. Right? I'm nice, but I'm mad. He says because the world is wicked and the world is unable to provide the love and shelter that somebody as innocent as me deserves. That's right. I'm here and I'm nice and people should be treating me nice, and it looks like this world does not provide the love and the shelter that I deserve. And so my face, I'm going to make it personal, so it'll be easy to hear it. So my face is often wet with tears at all the injustices the world accords to those who would be generous and good. I'll say it again. Okay, I got an aspect of myself that's really, really nice, that would not bother anybody, that looks like it's a good person in what can seem to be an evil world. And sometimes I get mad because the world can be so cruel and it doesn't give me the love and shelter that someone as nice and innocent as me deserves. And so my face is often wet with tears and upset because of the injustices that the world does to me, and I just only mean to be good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Paris. I appreciate it. And the Course says, now this aspect, this goody-goody you that you make up, it never makes the first attack. It never tries to hurt anybody first. As a matter of fact, every day 100 little things makes small attacks upon my innocence and provokes me to irritation, and at times to open insult and abuse. He says, but the face of innocence, this concept of yourself so proudly wears, I can tolerate attack in self-defense. I can get you back if you do something to me, because isn't it a well-known fact that the world deals harshly with defenseless innocence? I mean, if I did not fight back, I'm going to be attacked. I'm going to be taken advantage of, because we know how the world deals with people when you really try to be nice. So, no one who makes a picture of himself omits this face. Anybody that comes up with a self-image always comes up with an image of somehow or another, you're nice and you're a victim. And the Course says, because you really have need of that face. He says, now the other side you don't want to see. The other side of your idea about yourself you don't want to see. But this is where the learning of the world has set its sights. This is where the world's reality is set to make sure that your self-concept lasts. So the first purpose is to see myself as really, really nice. That's a victim, sometimes having to defend and attack, because you know how people take advantage of people who are really nice and loving and innocent. So the Course in Miracles says everybody makes up an image of themselves like that. And that you're often upset because people are mistreating you and you're nice and everything. And you know, and you wouldn't shoot nobody if they didn't mess with you first, right? You know, you got your course book and you got to use it sometimes to block a bullet. You know what I'm saying? So you'd be a good person if it wasn't for that. Now, before I hit the next purpose, any questions or comments about what's been said so far?
Well, I do want to make a comment, Earl, because the space also, what comes up for me is like martyrdom. Like I feel like a martyr, you know, because, you know, I'm being victimized and I have to endure it, and how noble that is, you know?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yeah. I just suffer silently and patiently because I'm so nice.
Yeah.
Just take advantage of me. I try to help people out and they always screw me.
Yeah, yeah.
And not particularly in the ways I like. I call it the nicey self. Everybody makes up the nicey self. And then it says the other part, he says, well, anybody else before I go on? Anybody else have a comment? That's a great point. It's just a martyr. Yeah, my brother.
It seems like whenever we've had our clarity sessions, they start out like this every time.
Like what?
This is what I tell you.
Thank you for your honesty.
Way to own it. Way to own it.
I totally own my nicest self. You know, I'm just so nice. I'm just ridiculous. and as a matter of fact, all of you look nice too. I just like the nicest bunch of people I could ever have in the room until I cross you. I don't know, but see, one thing that can happen when you start on a spiritual path, especially if you think you've been on a spiritual path for a while, what you have to watch is getting into lying to yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, you find yourself getting away from telling the truth about your ego to pretending that you don't have any of those qualities anymore, because you'll get that idea that being positive means not being authentic and honest about what you're feeling, and so you think just always acting like you're nice and you love everybody is the way to make things happen, rather than understanding that it's looking honestly at all your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs, and even the ones that are not the best dressed, and asking for another way to look at them and transmute them and transcend them is the way to go. But most people think positive thinking is the way to go. Positive thinking is great in its own way, but it has its limitations if you use it as an excuse for not to be honest with yourself. It's like sweeping dirt under a rug. Yep. And after a while, if you do it long enough, you're going to trip over it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be wondering, why did you trip? Because you don't see any dirt on top of the rug, but there's a whole lot of dirt going on under that rug that you just tripped on. So how do I know if I have dirt under the rug? How much dirt do I see in my perception? How much fear do I see in my perception? How much upset do I see in my perception? How many things in the world that I don't see in a loving way is letting me know. So I found from doing the course so many years that the more that I will admit I'm not loving, the more loving people are to me, which is just the opposite of what I thought it would be like. And when I told myself I was loving, but I wasn't being honest with myself, then that's when it looked like people were being the most cruel to me. And so the more I said I was nicey without owning the part of me that wasn't so nicey, then I was always attracting people to show me that I wasn't as nicey as I thought I was. So if you're one of these nicey people surrounded by crappy people that you don't enjoy, that you think mistreat you, you should be grateful to them for getting you out of denial about your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. Amen. They really are doing you a great favor, actually. And so beneath the face of innocence, okay, so we got a self-concept, right? And then we got the nicest self. Uh-huh. And the nicest self is always the self that the world is mucking with.
Mm-hmm. Messing with me.
They're messing with my nicest self. And this right here are the machine gun bullets that's coming the nicest self. Okay. Now, you know, so I would like to officially tell you all I'm not nice. I'm not nice.
Me neither.
I'm not nice. I'm not nice. I'm aiming to be loving as I can possibly be. I'm trying to study so that I can let go of all the blocks to the awareness of love that's inside of me so that I can allow myself to express love to you, but there are parts of me that aren't very nice. Okay, so since I know that, and I'm willing to look at that, and I'm willing to admit that, I don't need the universe to show me that that's true by attracting a lot of people to me that show me that I'm not. So I'm just going to fess up. There are parts of me that has anger and guilt and grievances and shame and depression and fear, and there are parts of me that's full of love and peace and joy and openness and want to be awake and want to be conscious. And if you dare get close to me, I'm going to tell you, you will at some time or another probably see both. Got it? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I'm going to be nice all the time, that I'm going to be loving all the time, that I'm going to be patient all the time. I am going to attempt it with much diligence, but I may not always pull it off. And if you got that kind of expectation of me, please don't try to get close to me. I have no desire to be around anybody that puts me under that kind of pressure, who absolutely are not doing it themselves either. Because we have a tendency to want people to have qualities that we ourselves don't possess or express. You know what I'm saying? The person that says, well, you ask the average person what kind of relationship partner they want, they'll say, I want somebody that's what? Rich and prosperous and abundant and spiritual and compassionate and patient and fun, intelligent, spiritual, conscious. Would a person like that want you?
That's the question.
Would a person like that want you? Do you think a person with all those qualities would be looking for you? Of course they would, because I'm nice. Of course they would want me, because I'm a nice person. You know, as I've said it many times, we make people work too hard for our dysfunctional love. You know, I don't even know how to love you. I make you work so hard, it's ridiculous. That even if you showed up, I wouldn't know what to do. But I want you to be perfect, even as I'm not. Yes.
Oh, I wanted to make sure that I understood. So this the other face that we don't want to see,
Which I'm about to get into.
In order to move, in order for it to be easier on the spiritual path, is when that comes up, just be honest with it and use the material to ask for another way to look at whatever's causing that face, and not to pretend like you're feeling a way when you're not. Is it to just be with that and embrace and allow that face that I guess we're trying to transcend? Will that face ever dissolve and we just simply have the face of love?
Yes.
Because that's what
You'll be the love.
Okay.
It won't be a face, it'll be you.
So we just have to when it comes up, be with it, own it, and use the course or the way of mastery,
whatever your
to
spiritual
tackle
path.
Whatever's causing that face to present itself, and not act like it's not there, not project it.
Yes.
Just be with it.
Yeah. I love it when you talk dirty. You better than a 900 number from God, girl.
I'd rather be with it than to have it presenting in my
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. That's why I'm making the confession I'm making today.
For that. So that at least I know that I'm still progressing when it's there, because this book is saying it's there, it's gonna come up.
If you're progressing, it's gonna come up.
Okay.
If it doesn't come up, you're not progressing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I like to use the dirt at the bottom of the pail analogy all the time.
But this is telling us what to do when it comes up, so we can move past.
That's right. By owning it.
By owning it.
By owning it. Not condemning yourself, not judging yourself, not putting yourself down. So this is a result of my own thinking, and what I want another way to look at this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This is a result of some thought that I have. I'm not going to beat myself up about it, and I can think something differently right now.
Okay.
Because no matter what happened in the past, I can choose to think a different thought in this moment, which can give me a different reality right now. So I can't use my story as an excuse any longer.
So we're using our ability to create in the present by being present with it and using new materials to boot out those thoughts that have created that self-concept that we don't want to see and we don't like. Because I've seen it, I have it as well, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And I'm willing to, we both willing to admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if we cuss each other out, we know it's not our real self doing it. You know? That's where to be one day. That's really the way to be. I have this theory that sometimes you can be looking at the most enlightened beings that you could ever imagine, but you wouldn't realize they were because you're looking for enlightened beings to always be talking nice. Where it could be two enlightened beings just sharing what they're feeling in the moment. Well, you know, this morning I woke up with the desire to kill you with a buzzsaw. Did you know that? But I'm choosing to see it different. A different way. And y'all just have a good laugh and go ahead and eat some breakfast.
So
you know what I'm saying?
we've made up a definition of what an enlightened being should be like, but we really don't know.
That's right.
We haven't achieved that.
That's
so
right.
we're learning what it is to be that enlightened being.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. To know that it's already in you. It's already there. Everything we're looking for is already there. We're just trying to remove the blocks.
And the judgment that we're putting on it is what's making us feel bad because we think that it should be a certain way.
Exactly.
Based off of what we've learned.
That's right.
And we really don't know.
That's right. Because everything is neutral, and then we give it the meaning that it has for us, and there are two meanings you can give it. Something that gives you peace or something that gives you conflict. That's it. It's so simple, but the Course says that there's nothing harder for us to recognize than what's simple. Because we've been trained that everything has to be complicated. So if we're not given really complicated answers, then we can't grasp them. You're right. Everything is neutral. I'm the one deciding how I'm going to see it, and how I decide to interpret it is going to determine how I feel about it, and therefore how I'm going to express myself and how I'm going to feel.
And
That's
it's
right.
coming up because we are implementing the truth. So
It has to come up if you focus on the truth, because everything that's the opposite of love, when you tell somebody you love them, everything that's not love must come up to be cleared out of the relationship. So as soon as you go, I love you, because we've all had that experience, you just get along great and you mess around and you go, da-da, I love you. Oh, hell, here he comes, you know, getting ready to, hold on, y'all getting ready to go for the ride now, right? Because everything that's not love has to come up to be released. And if you don't know that, then you'll break up the relationship because you think it's horrible instead of knowing that you're having an opportunity to heal. That you're actually having an opportunity to take yourself to another level if you remember that the goal is love, and this is something that's coming up that's a block to love, and you want another way to look at it.
Yes.
See, we got to let go of those storybook romance attitudes about what love is, because it's just usually a fantasy that I'm making up to the point that I don't even really want to have a relationship with you. I just want to have a relationship with my fantasy. And I just want you to act out my fantasy. Don't talk too much. Don't talk too much. You be interfering with my fantasy. You know what I'm saying? I want to have a relationship with the person that's not there. Right? Right? And then when you both see the potential fantasy in each other, then you both promise each other you're going to give each other's fantasies. Now, if you recognize a fantasy as a fantasy, then you can enjoy it. Because fantasies only hurt you when you don't remember they're fantasies. That's the only time anything hurts you, the Course of Miracles teaches is that when you deceive yourself, that's when pain happens. But if you tell yourself, you know, if I'm eating cotton candy, and I'm enjoying the cotton candy, but I'm not expecting it to last forever, then I won't be disappointed when I'm down to the stick. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm sitting up there going, this is eternal cotton candy, then I'm going to be upset. So if you know it's a fantasy, then you can go ahead and enjoy it. If you know money is a fantasy and all the things we want here are ultimately fantasies in the sense that they don't last forever, then you can let yourself enjoy every moment. You're supposed to fully enjoy each moment and then let it go. Could you imagine how we would never hear a beautiful song if we weren't willing to let one note go to hear the next? That's how you hear a song. Well, that's letting one note go to play the other. This is what we want to do. Hang on to the note, don't never want to let it go so we can get a good song going for our life. Wow. Every little note comes up, every little person that comes, every little situation, we go, it must last forever. This relationship must last forever. This must last forever. I can never let it go. That's a one-note song. That's not going to be enjoyable. You get to the point that when those notes called people and situations change and move, you'll be the one that's most excited about the next note that's getting ready to show up in your concerto. You know what I'm saying? That's enlightenment, when you can go, oh, that relationship was awesome. I learned as much as I could from that one. They learned as much as I could from me. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Now I'm looking for the next note. And it's on the way. This is a good song. You know, and some songs are standards. They last 100 years. Some songs, like, you know, like Shake My Butt or something like that, they last like 6 months and you'll never hear them no more. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand. But while Shake My Butt is going, you know, you enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry if I don't talk spiritual. I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a world that I should be able to just talk about the way it is. Talk like it is, okay? Okay, I'm gonna do 5 more minutes of questions, then I'm gonna go further. Yes?
I just had something come to my mind when you were talking about the nicey, just flashing on being a little tiny girl, and every time somebody would die or be killed, it would always be my dad saying, it's always the good ones.
That's
Always
right.
The good ones. And
That's
I
right.
As a little kid, going, oh hell no, I'm not gonna be a good one. I'm gonna fix this.
I know.
And then tucking that away in the bottom of the bucket, like you say.
Yeah,
I had to pretend.
Yeah.
So it's that was why I couldn't own that, but I needed it for my survival. I thought.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, it was like, it's like, they said the good die young. You know what I'm saying? So what is that telling your mind? Well, if I'm good, I'm going to die young. So if I want to live a long time, I got to be bad as hell. You know what I'm saying? Because I want a nice long life, so I'm not going to do nothing right. You know what I'm saying? Or another way to look at it is that if you were to recognize that it's like a pail with dirt at the bottom of the pail, that the water looks clear until you start to put in new water, and then the dirt at the bottom of the pail comes up and the pail gets cloudy.
Yeah.
And then the temptation is to stop putting the water in the pail, the dirt settles back down, and then it looks like the water's clear again, but it's not. The dirt's still there. So when you get into the truth, that's you pouring spiritual water into the pail. All the stuff at the bottom of the pail, your grievances, your fear, your anger, whatever, is going to come up, and you're going to have a clouded pail for a while. You're going to be wondering, what the hell is going on? I got into the truth, and now it looks like my life is worse than ever, right? Because I got all that stuff stirred up. Now, if you keep pouring the water in the pail, what happens? You know what happens. Eventually, all the dirty water goes over the side, and you have a completely clear pail from top to bottom. That's what you were saying about, do you reach the point that it's love all the time? Yeah, you get to the point the pail is completely clear at some point. But when you keep giving yourself the truth, the average person, as soon as they have a little challenge, they throw the truth out of the window and go back to looking at things like the way that the world teaches them. That's the way the average person does it. They are very spiritual until something actually comes up to challenge them.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they chunk everything that they've been studying, don't longer come to classes, don't read anymore, and go deal with it just the way that the world says you should, like you're a victim of circumstance. So I always say to people, your default setting, how much truth you have really accepted as true, you will always know it by the first thing you do when you're upset. So you can talk all the good true stuff you want to in this room, but as soon as something doesn't go the way you want it to go, and you find yourself projecting, blaming, and attacking, that's your level of consciousness. Same thing is true about your sexual attractions and your physical romantic attractions. You can talk about all the spiritual stuff you want to, but if you're attracted to the most unconscious people that walk the earth, that's your level of consciousness. I'm sorry. You pay attention to who turns you on. Because a lot of times when you start to wake up, you'll say, people don't turn me on as much as they used to. Or you'll say, people aren't turned on by me as much as they used to. Well, you're not crazy as you used to be, and there's more crazy people. So, of course, you had a larger pool to choose from. See, you know, you were crazy and guilty and afraid. There were so many of them, you was getting 10 dates a day. Okay. But now that you're trying to be sane and loving and giving and whole and take responsibility, of course it doesn't look like there's a lot of people that's beating a path to your door. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a friggin' blessing. That means that you are invisible to the people who would be harmful to themselves and to you. They don't even see you. They don't feel you. I don't ever attract regular women in the world. I don't care where they don't have no. I'm as invisible as I can be. I'm the black invisible man. You know, just put me in the general public. Nobody sees me. You drop me in the middle of something that has to do with higher consciousness, spiritual growth, personal growth, involvement. It's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, because people who are like me recognize their own. People who are like you recognize their own. And people who are not like you, they just think you're like them. So they still don't mess with you. So you're safe in the way it goes. The people who are not like you, they're going to think you're like them. So they're cool. But the people who are like you, they're going to recognize you, and you're going to recognize them, and that's going to be a good time. But in the beginning, it's going to look like people are moving out of your life, and that it looks like there's not as many people as it used to be for you to be around, and that's all happening in the transition stage. And then after a while, you'll start to draw one person that's like you, then another one, then another one, then another one, and then before you know it, you're surrounded by a group of people who all seem to want the same thing you want, until you start your next level of evolving, and then you're going to go through the same thing again. Then these people are going to drop away, and then it'll be a whole new set. That's why he's saying you have to let go of this idea that to have a real relationship, that all your relationships have to last a lifetime. It is rare that relationships last a lifetime. Do not make that a goal, because that ain't going to happen. All your relationships are not going to last a lifetime in the body. They're going to be relationships held out to you for you to learn certain things through. You're going to learn as much as you can from that person, and they're going to learn as much as they can from you according to the course, and then you're going to appear to separate. So stop beating yourself up about not having relationships that last a long, long time. It doesn't mean you're a relationship failure. It just means you learned as much as you can from that person at this time. And there will be a healing at some point in the future, whether in this life or another one. So let go of that. Because just because you have a lifelong relationship with somebody, the Course says it doesn't mean you're going to necessarily like each other. So you might be asking for a lifelong relationship and wish it wasn't. You know what I mean? So in other words, we are innocent for real, which is different from the innocence that we make up for ourselves. The innocence that the Course is talking about is true. You really are. But we have to be more gentle with ourselves. We need to stop being so hard on ourselves. Don't be so hard on yourself. Stop being. It's not going to make your life better by beating yourself up all the time. People think somehow or another it's going to make them better people by how guilty they feel about everything. It's not true. Your guilt only requests punishment. And then punishment comes in the form of some challenge that you go through, and you don't know where it comes from, because you don't realize it's your own desire to feel guilty that's creating the challenge, because you want to be punished. Which isn't the same as saying you don't make mistakes. We do make mistakes. Mistakes are for correction, and we can be lovingly corrected. Let go of punishment as correction. Punishment is not correction. Punishment is not correction. Punishment is not correction. Punishment just reinforces the guilt that created the attack, that created the punishment in the first place. So if you make somebody feel guilty, they're going to do it again. Whatever you making them feel guilty about, they're going to do it again. So the more you make people feel guilty, the more you can count on them repeating whatever the thing that's upsetting you. I'm telling you now. It's a lot easier. So let me go on. I want to go on. Hold it. Let me go on. I'm going to because it's easier to not go any further into class, and I'm glad for the response, but I have to be disciplined. Okay. All right. So now, beneath the face of innocence, there's a lesson that the concept of the self was made to teach. Now, it's a lesson in terrible displacement, and a fear so devastating that the space that smiles above this concept must forever look away lest it perceive the treachery it hides. In other words, there's a lesson that teaches this. Now, this is the lesson underneath the face of innocence. It is this. Now follow this. I am the thing you made of me. See it? It's like we all make up another face, which is, what I'm going through is because of you. As you look at me and how pitiful I am, you stand condemned because of what I am. Because what I'm going through is being caused by you. So you're condemned because of what I am. It's your fault. It's my father's fault that I turned out this way. It's my mother's fault that I turned out this way. This is just what happens to a black man in America. You know, it's everything's fault but me. I am the result of you. And the Course says, that's the other face that everybody makes up. The face that says, I am a victim. I am the victim. I am the victim. You did it to me. It is your fault. And it says, on this conception of the self, the world smiles with approval. When you're blaming everybody else and seeing yourself as the victim, the average person says, yeah, honey child, that's exactly, he did do that to you. You know, he did that to you. You're just a victim of that dude. How many of you have had people go into agreement with you when you were projecting and blaming someone else for what you were going through? All of us have had that experience. And how many of you have had the experience of when you were trying to take responsibility and not blame somebody, of someone telling you you were wrong, it really is their fault? Girl, don't you be taking no responsibility for that. That was they did that. See, the world smiles approvingly when you're projecting and blaming. But the world tells you you're crazy if you say, I'm the creator of my experience. If you say, what I'm going through, I'm creating it. The world doesn't jump up and down with joy and tell you that you're making the right choice when you do stuff like that. And so the Course in Miracles says, on this conception of the self, the world smiles with approval, because if you look at yourself as a victim, it guarantees that the pathways of the world are safely kept, and that those who walk on the pathways of the world will not escape. So you will not escape a fearful reality as long as you see yourself as powerless and a victim. You will not escape a fearful reality as long as you see yourself as a victim. So the world, which is based on the idea that everybody's a victim of something else, smiles with approval when you say it's everybody else's fault. But that guarantees that you'll always be in a fearful world, in a fearful reality. Okay, so this is the central lesson that ensures that I'm going to condemn you forever and you're going to condemn me forever. It's also the lesson, it also means that what I'm going through is your sin, because what you're doing to me, that's what I'm going through. And if you are hurting me and attacking me, then I'm sorry, there is no forgiveness possible. So no longer does it matter what you do, because my accusing finger is pointing at you. So I don't care what you do. I don't care what you say. My finger is pointing at you. And it says, I love how the Course says this, for your accusing finger points to your brother, unwavering and deadly in its aim. It's your fault. It points to you as well.
Yeah.
It points to you as well, but this is kept still deeper in the mist below the face of innocence. So in these shrouded vaults are all your brother's sins and your so-called sins, preserved and kept in darkness where they can't be perceived as errors which the light would surely show. In other words, you can't be blamed for what you are. You can't change the things it makes you do. The other person is a symbol of your sins and guilt to you, who are but silently and yet with ceaseless urgency condemning still your brother for the hated thing you are. I'm not taking any responsibility. I'm condemning you for the hated thing that I am. I hate myself, but it's because of what my father said to me. And I hate myself because it was what society says to me. Notice that when we come up with the face of innocence, we are always the one that has nothing to do with what we are experiencing. And he says that guarantees you'll keep a reality that's no longer satisfying, prosperous, happy, and loving. So what the Course in Miracles is basically saying to us so far is that we are experiencing the image of ourselves that we ourselves are making up and living. And since we're the one making up the image, then we are the ones who can let go of that image and therefore allow ourselves to start to experience the kind of life we really want to experience, unless you want to be right about your image rather than being happy. If you're, and I can always tell who still wants to keep the pain going. They'll say stuff to me like, but it really was my father that did that to me. Okay, so when someone says that to me, then I know that they still are in their self-punishment cycle and they don't want to let the pain go yet. And you have to let them have their pain until they're ready to let it go. That's what you have to do. Because they got another way they can look at it, but they're still choosing to look at it the way that's never really served them, because if it really worked, it would have worked by now.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're even asking them to try do something that they haven't tried. We've all tried blaming everybody else for everything that we go through in some time or another. It doesn't ever work. First of all, the other person doesn't even feel your pain. And in most cases, they don't even know you're going through what you're going through about whatever it is you think they've done. So the only person that's ever feeling your pain is you. That's it. No one else is feeling your pain. No one else is feeling your pain but you. And your pain is coming from what you're telling yourself. That's why it can go. Why? I just need to tell myself something else. And I need to learn the something else the same way I learned the stuff that's not really cool, that's making me feel bad right now. And guess what? How do I do that? Repetition, 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 repetition. Telling myself something new over and over and over and over and over again. until I see that's true, the way I used to tell myself something over and over again that kept me in pain and kept me in conflict. But most people don't want to take the time to do that because we're in the McDonald's generation, so everything has to happen in 2 or 3 minutes straight or we are gone on to something else. I'm sorry, enlightenment doesn't work that way. It doesn't take as long as it took to get your mind messed up because you're not by yourself doing it, but it's going to take a while to undo a lifetime of programming. Even though you'll see improvements in your life that'll blow your mind from the minute that you sincerely make the decision that you're going to wake up. You'd be amazed at how just a desire to be new will change things in your life that'll blow your mind, let alone you being able to do it completely yet. I'm amazed at the miracles I've seen just playing with the truth. Let alone if I go, okay, I think I'll really do this now. You know, then I have to be ready because then I know my upper limits are going to be tested. My limits, how much I can receive is going to be tested, see. So get ready because you deserve more than you think you deserve. God wouldn't be so cruel as to limit you to what you think you deserve. The Course in Miracles says, what's God's definition of little? The Course says, anything you think of. Anything you think of is little in the universe's sight. We don't even treat ourselves as well as the universe wants to. So you know what? The more you wake up, the more you're going to be saying, not my will, but thine. Yes. That's how you can always tell when a soul is waking up, because they'll begin to get that they can't come up with ideas for themselves that would be more grand and glorious than the Creator could come up for them. So because they want to receive the best that life has to offer, they start giving the power of decision over to their higher power, rather than still thinking it's about me making up my fantasies and spending all my day every day trying to get my fantasies acted out. And if you want to do that, you're totally innocent in doing that. But you're going to go through the same experience that you go through with all of them, which is they don't last. So all of a sudden, you're going to change your focus to, what can I focus on that's going to always be there, that I can always count on, that's going to always love me? You're going to start wanting permanent stuff instead of the temporary stuff. And then you're going to start using the temporary stuff to take you to the permanent stuff. So then you take everything in your life and you use it for the glory of love and oneness in God and truth. You dedicate everything in your life to the perfect joy and happiness that you know you deserve to have. So then you're not in opposition to your material reality. You're now using your material reality as also another thing that can point to the beauty and the glory that you are. Win-win. The truth is always going to be a win-win. And if it's not, then you're not dealing with the truth. If there's any idea of loss involved, then you're dealing with a concept that you've made up and the world is made up. Nobody dies. No one dies. They just drop a body. Now, the person who believes that we are bodies, they think that the person is gone. But what's actually happened is the person is no longer inhabiting that form, and that form is what allowed you to communicate with them, because we're on a level of consciousness that we think we need bodies to communicate. So without the body, you can't hear what I'm saying. But just because we don't have a radio sitting up here on this table right now, doesn't mean that the station has stopped broadcasting. It just means you don't have the receiver to hear it. That's all these bodies are. They're just a physical receiver, like the television set. You destroy your television set, does CBS stop broadcasting? No, you just go out and get a brand new TV, aka body. So if you recognize a person, you'll recognize them in whatever body they show up in. But if you think they are the body, then you won't recognize them. We are more than our bodies and we have bodies. We're more than our bodies and we have bodies. We're more than our bodies and we have bodies. We are spiritual beings. This is not a psychological healing class. This is a spiritual class. This is a class for the purpose of waking up to our true identities as unlimited beings, as children of God. That's why I'm here. It's not to make sure that you get the career that you want, because the minute you know who you are, that would be child's play for you anyway. Because you're an unlimited being. You know what I'm saying? Why go for the candy bar when you could have the candy factory? See, that's why we're going for the factory. We're not going anymore for the candy bar. We want to go to the source of the joy. You know, you can dip water out of a bathtub teaspoon by teaspoon, or you can pull the plug and watch all the bath water go down the drain immediately. Course in Miracles is pulling the plug on everything. That's why there's so much resistance to it. That's why it's such a challenge for people to study, because it's going for the plug. I want to pull up I want to get rid of everything that blocks me from being happy right now. And so what is the main plug that you could pull up, Earl? What is the main plug I need to pull up? The main plug that you need to pull up is the plug that says you're separate from God, you're different from God, you're not connected to your source, God. If a person really wanted to go straight to the real issue, get that solved so that they can have everything they want, they would all be working on their relationship to their higher power. That's what everybody in the room would be diligently doing if they really wanted to be happy the fastest. Right? But most people pray for money instead of praying for what would be the source of the money. Who's the source? What's the source? So an idol is anything you put before your peace. An idol is anything you put before your connection to source. So if you want to know what your idols are, it's anything you put before your peace. Anything you put before your relationship to source. If you put a relationship before your peace, that relationship is an idol. And if it's an idol, it's going to fall. And how do you know when an idol has fallen? He says every time an idol falls, you will cry. It'll be the thing that you're sadly crying about, not joyfully crying about. That's your idol. I lost my credit. Okay, that's my idol. I think my credit is taking care of me. And I'm here to tell you that if credit took care of you, then I would be in complete trouble at different times in my life. There have been times in my life that I completely blew my credit. And guess what? I didn't miss a meal. I didn't miss nothing. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, I got great credit now, and that's a miracle. See what I'm saying? That's the real miracle. Because I have not lived any kind of way for the last 30 years of my life, like any way that the world says that you need to live in order to be taken care of. And I've watched me be taken care of because I made God, the truth, my focus. And when you do that, everything else will be added to you. We've all heard this kind of stuff, but the truth is, it's freaking true. It's actually true. But what happens is none of us wants to invest in a God of fear. None of us want to invest in sometimes the things we were taught, because the things we were taught didn't ring true to our soul. It was too rooted in guilt and shame and fear and attack. And I didn't buy it when I was a kid. So I thought something was wrong with me because I was rebelling against what I was being taught about my Creator, and I felt an inner rebellion about what I was being taught about Jesus. Neither one of them felt right to my soul. And so therefore I went another way. And that way has created much more peace and love than anything that I could have ever imagined, broken into by periods where I go through hell that's self-inflicted. When I just gets too good, so let me just mess with this. Because it's been going too good and I don't really think I deserve it. I just think I'll just do something stupid right now. But you don't think you're consciously doing it, but that's exactly what happens when you reach your limit on how much you think you deserve. You just start sabotaging it, and it'll seem very, very reasonable to do it. So you have to be aware that you're having abundance and joy and love and support is your natural state.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. So don't look at it as a big deal when you're having a happy day. That's the way your days should be. Don't look at it as a big deal because you got loving relationships. You should be saying, you know what, my relationships have finally become ordinary. How do I know that? Because all of them are so cool. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be, oh my God, somebody likes me. How special is that? You know what I'm saying? Why should it be special for somebody to like you? That's why we latch onto them and strangle the life out of them. Because we think that nobody else is going to feel about us the way that they do. So we immediately become their jailer instead of their lover. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing about the jailer has to stay in the prison with the prisoner. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to watch you and jail you, I'm not going to be too free while I'm busy watching you. So the next time you hide behind a bush looking at somebody, try to remember this class. Next time you're doing some stupid stuff, because all of us have done stupid stuff because of relationship specialists. Now I don't care what y'all say, we all got our story of when we did something we just knew was just stupid out of our desire to have specialness with somebody. That's because we were taught that love is not everywhere. That it's so special to have someone that loves you. It's not special to have someone that loves you. It should be ordinary to have people around you that love you. Stop seeing it as special when things go good for you. That's telling yourself that good things can only happen to you every now and then. That's what you're telling the universe. This is so special. Well, that means I'm telling myself it can't happen all the time. When something goes lousy, call it special. Try that. Go, I had a horrible day today. It was so special. Why? Because it's not something that happens to me all the time. Look at this, flip it. Now that doesn't mean when someone gives you a gift, you say, oh, this isn't very special. You have to have common sense now. Don't forget your common sense. The Course in Miracles says the second coming of Christ is the return of our common sense. And I love that line. The second coming of Christ is the return of our common sense. Because my mama used to say stuff like that, boy, don't you have common sense? Because common sense is not intellectual awareness. It's not how many books you've read. There are a lot of people who read a lot of books that don't have common sense. You know, so we're trying to get back to common sense. I love that about us. So, can we acknowledge ourselves for having common sense? Can we give that to the people in the room? So I'm going to do a recap in just a moment. We're going to do the financial expression of appreciation, as I like to call it. I'm a full-time teacher of the Course in Miracles. I'm sustained by the love of God, but thank the channels that allow themselves to share with me because they see value in what I do. So thank you very much for sharing with me. I am you. I have the same needs in the world that you have.
And Raj, you can make payments on your website, right?
Yes, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can, yes, those of you watching online, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can make a financial expression of appreciation there. And I want to thank all of you who have been doing that. I really appreciate that. Also, those who are interested in it, I do one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions, where we take whatever the issues are that you're dealing with, and I take all of this information plus my knowledge of astrology and numerology for those who are open to it, and we see if we can get another way to look at whatever it is that you're dealing with so that you can have a solution and more peace.
They're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate
They're
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That means a lot that you say that and mean that. It's funny, it's like if a person really wants a way out of something, and they really do, you can always tell because they jump on any opportunity that they have to do it differently. It's very important to recognize everybody is where they want to be. I'll say it again. Everybody is where they want to be.
Right.
How do you know that? Because 90% of people, when you give them an alternative of some other way they can do it, don't do it. You know that's true from your own experience. Like, you know, it's like today. What happened today? Well, today we got all this information about how we could change our perception of everything that's going on around us by realizing we were acting out of our own self-image. And that the self-image was something we were taught. And that if we want to have a different reality, all we have to do is give ourselves some new thoughts and some different thoughts. The Course is saying that what you need to do is be willing to look at the erroneous thoughts that you already have, that you're pretending that you don't have, that are buried in your subconscious, that are creating the problems that you're going through that you think somebody else is causing. And as long as you see someone else as the cause, then you're trapped in that pattern and you won't be able to get out of it. So in the beginning, you have to say the hardest thing you could ever say to yourself: I am responsible for what I'm experiencing. It's not somebody else's fault. Why? Because my reality is coming from who I am in this moment today. And so it's who I am today that's determining what's happening to me now. So I can't use anything before today as an excuse. I'm conscious enough to choose differently. Why wouldn't I? Well, if I don't think I deserve to be happy, I'm not going to do anything that's going to bring me any joy. Well, why would I think I don't deserve to be happy? Because from the time you were born, there were not people telling you that you were an unlimited, beautiful, infinite, glorious, grand being. And so you're acting on what you were taught. Some of you were taught as soon as you landed that you were born in sin and that you were sinners and that you were flawed.
Oh.
So you come in, you get that as a core belief. Your beliefs create your reality. So you create a reality that reflects back to you that you're imperfect and flawed. And so then it looks like that's true. So you come to a class where a strange looking black dude tell you totally innocent, sinless, and guiltless, then it's cult suspicion. And then you go to a church that everybody's telling you that you're going to hell and everybody tithes. Now that's the thing that's such a truth, right? They tithe because the minister is telling them what they believe about themselves.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's telling the truth and I'm telling the lie. Because if you don't feel that way about yourself and I tell you you're innocent, I'm just trying to get your money. But if I think you're worthless, if you think you're worthless and you think you're a sinner, and then I turn around and say you're worthless and you're a sinner, then you go, that man's telling me the truth. I need to come here every week. But what you're doing is you're actually reinforcing the negative beliefs that's going to be reinforced in your physical reality more and more, and you wonder why things don't change. It's not really as big of a mystery as we think that it is. So take a breath here just for a second and let me say a few things to you for 1 minute just to get you to remember. Take a breath. You need to understand that you got two faces, two concepts of yourself. One concept is the idea that you are really, really nice and people are doing things to you and you wouldn't attack, except that you'll do it in self-defense. So the thought that you want to let go of is this. Stop telling yourself that you're the thing that somebody else made of you from this day forward. Stop telling yourself that you're the thing that somebody made of you. Stop telling people that they stand condemned because what you are is what they made you. You want to claim your power right now. And this is how you claim your power. You don't have to believe it. Say, I am responsible for what I see. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience. I choose the feelings I experience. And I decide upon the goal I would achieve. I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for. Ooh, I say, everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for. And then tell yourself this, and I receive as I have asked. And I receive as I have asked. Now you tell yourself, I am entitled to miracles. I am entitled to miracles. Say, I am entitled to miracles. I am entitled to miracles. Tell yourself, I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world. Now, somebody get a little loud with me and go, I bless the world because I bless myself. 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 I bless the world because I bless myself and breathe. So, mighty companions, Tuesday night we do the Way of Mastery at 7 o'clock. You're invited to that. Those of you online, go to my website. Get hooked up on my contact list so you can get links to all the classes, these videos, so you can watch videos. I video all of these classes so you can go back and listen to them again. So if you want your week to be different, take one thought into this week, which is, I am not the victim of the world I see. That's what you want to do. Your boss going off, I'm not the victim of the boss I see. You know, that's what you got to do. You got to make it real. And you don't have to believe it. Now, don't think you have to believe it, but then you won't do it. Okay? If it's the truth, it's true whether you believe it or not. See what I'm saying? If it's true, your belief has absolutely nothing to do with it. And the truth is, you're innocent for real. You're powerful for real. You deserve love and abundance for real. You are unlimited for real. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you for helping me remember again. It's all about remembering. It's all about repetition. So thank you. Hugs are available. And you all are just friggin' awesome.